Hello and welcome my friends to the Flying Kick. I am Savino as always, and today we will take a look at the not so recently released Metro Siege demo. Yeah, this video was supposed to be out weeks ago, but work caught up with me and yeah. Created by Bean Canon, Metro Siege has been developed for a few years now and has been designed exclusively with the Amiga 500 in mind. For those who aren't aware, the Amiga 500 was a computer system released in the mid-80s, and it was pretty popular in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know much about the system, I have never seen one in my life, so most of you probably know it better than me, but I know beaten ups, and that's what matters here. Before anything, let me put your expectations in check. Metro Siege is a traditional 80s beaten up, so if you're expecting crazy combos and insane air juggles, you will be severely disappointed. With that said, let's talk about the game, or to be more precise, let's talk about the graphics. At first my feelings were a bit mixed. I mean, the game looks good with detailed backgrounds, great character animations and a good sense of depth thanks to some beautiful parallax scrolling. But aside from that, I found the game to be a bit muted when it comes to colors. Later I found out that this is a limitation imposed by the computer, and looking at the numbers, the developers achieved some great stuff here. The Amiga was capable of rendering 4096 colors, but only 32 at the same time, half of what the Mega Drive could display. Considering that limitation, the lack of colors here doesn't seem so bad. In fact, as I said, what they achieved here is pretty impressive. Compared to other beaten ups on the machine, you can clearly see how far the developers went with this game, making what fans at the time would probably deem it impossible. The number of enemies on the screen without any hiccup, the parallax scrolling, which is a first for beaten ups on the Amiga as far as I'm aware, and even the amount of the details you can spot in the scenes are above everything that came before. The backgrounds are very alive, with trees blowing in the wind, people watching the fights from the windows of their homes, people reading newspaper on the subway, and more than simply populating the backgrounds with cool things to see, the game also tells its story using it. You'll be able to follow the first boss, who will flee from the scene after your first encounter, desperately trying to avoid you in the following levels. This is an awesome detail that can tell a lot more about what's going on in the world than a dialogue or a wall of text. As they say in cinema, show, don't tell. Everything is pretty good here, and I'm impressed by how much stuff the developers were able to put in this game. Again, I'm not familiar with the system, but I watched a ton of videos and downloaded a few ROMs here, and there's nothing like it. Even the animations are amazing. Most beaten ups on the Amiga suffer from a severe lack of frames. Take a look at Final Fight or Golden Axe and you will see what I mean. But here, the developers went all in with the animations. I don't know what they did here, but I'm sure this is not something we will find in any other Amiga beaten up. When it comes to the sound, well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. The sound effects are good, with clear voices and nice hit effects. The music is not that bad, but thanks to the hardware limitation, there are only a few samples, making the soundtrack sound a bit metallic. I know this is another hardware limitation, and I know some people really enjoy this type of sound, but that's not for me. The compositions are good and I would love to hear it in a better system, but as is, this is not really for my ears. The sample voices repeat a lot since there are only a couple of them, one for the small guys and one for the big guys. But this doesn't bother me, since in the heat of the battle you won't be paying much attention to it and it will become, as is with most games, a sign to inform you that the enemy is no more. Again, hardware limitation, I presume. Now, the combat in this game is something else. Despite the limitations, Bean Canon delivered a beaten up that leaves nothing to be desired. Great moves, excellent hit and hurt boxes, and an awesome challenge. In this demo you can pick one of the two available characters. The final game will have three, but unfortunately the last one, who I can assume is the grappler, is not available here. The ones you can pick are Alex, who is your all-around guy, and Kin, who is the traditional fast and weak girl. They have some difference beyond that, like Kin not being able to grab enemies but able to hit them from a longer distance. The controls are simple, you have a jump button and an attack button and that's it. But don't think this is something that will limit the game. In Metro Siege, you can unleash a ton of moves by combining attack and directional inputs. For example, pressing down an attack will unleash a low kick, great for quickly knocking some enemies down when you're getting surrounded. Pressing up an attack will unleash a pretty cool back attack that knocks the incoming enemy down and quickly brings you back to your initial position so you can keep beating the enemy in front of you. Pretty good stuff if you ask me. You also have a couple of specials here that you can unleash by pressing both the jump and the attack buttons, which is your desperation move. You also can press your directional twice plus attack to perform a small special attack, great to stop enemies in their tracks as finishers or even as an evasive maneuver. I love how the combat feels in this game. You have some quick but very satisfying hit stuns animation that really make you feel like you're hitting a fool on the face. There's strength in each move, and to be honest, I wasn't expecting something this good from this game. Yeah, I jumped in not expecting much and I left very impressed. Your enemies are an interesting bunch. They are some kind of Schrodinger's enemy. They are at the same time varied and repetitive. But allow me to explain this quantum state of enemies. You see, at any given level you won't find more than 3 or 4 types of enemies, but at the same time each level has its own set of enemies that do not appear in other levels. Well, except for the big fat guy. And this is something I love. Yeah, it's common to beat 'em ups to introduce new enemies on new levels, I mean, duh. But enemies from previous levels will often repeat in later ones. Here, you will meet only new enemies as you advance in the game. It really gives any game a lot of life, especially in urban settings like this one where you have different gangs or sets of bigger gangs in different parts of the city. This gives each level a uniqueness that I wish more games had. Your enemies are also smart. While the AI isn't anything special that will put you on your toes, it can be pretty annoying to deal with if you let your guard down for even a second. Enemies are fast in this game, pretty fast, and they know how to surround you and how to take advantage of moments when you are busy beating someone else. So you will have to learn their moves and predict the best moment to use your desperation move or get out of their way. Sure, the game isn't without its problems, but fortunately there's nothing major here. One small thing that bothered me was the short window to perform some of the moves. Pressing down an attack for the low kick or up an attack for the back attack is pretty cool, but you will have to be very precise here. Which in the end makes the attack a kind of a risky move to use, since if you miss the timing, you will probably take a hit from one of the enemies, or both. The enemies can take a long time to get up after being knocked down, and this sometimes can hurt the pace of the game. They have a state where they are knocked and stars will circle over them, and I believe you can hit them in these moments. I say I believe because this wasn't a constant here in the game. What was constant was me taking a hit from the enemy when my character was in this state. This mechanic is something that I wish is better explained in the full game, because it took me a couple of hits to notice that I could free myself from these states and that I could roll up and down when knocked. There's also the fact that you can't knock down the big enemies. This is more a personal taste than an actual complaint, but I don't like when big enemies and bosses are impossible to knock down after a good combo. I mean, I know this is to show how strong they are, but the impression I have in the end is that my character is weak. And there's the loading times. Look, I will not sit here and pretend I know how emulation works, but I imagine that emulators could take advantage of higher clock speeds to prevent us from waiting too much on load screens. Here, at least with the emulator I am using, they emulate even the sound of the flop disk being read. Which is great, but I would gladly exchange that for a faster loading screen since I have no nostalgia for the system. As I said, there's little to nothing to complain about this game, which is a statement on how good the final product will probably be. Creating a beat-'em up for a system almost 4 years old and still being able to compete and, in a lot of aspects, surpass modern games is a feat that only very talented people who really know what they are doing could achieve. I really hope we see this game being released for modern consoles and PC because, yeah, emulating it can be a bit of a hassle. The emulator is not super complicated to use, but you need some files here and some files there that can be a bit annoying to find. If you guys are interested, I upload the emulator with the ROM already set up to my Google Drive, so I'll be putting the link in the description. And that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this look at this awesome game, and don't forget to tell me in the comments what are your impressions about this one. I'll be back pretty soon with another video for you, and other than that, I hope you all have an awesome day, and remember, keep it up.